And Are You Okay is a not safe for work podcast, so any young listeners are discouraged from continuing. However, we literally have no way to track that, so do whatever the hell you want and enjoy the show.
Signed up for
editing this like after, so I won't be tuning in, but I'm excited to hear when you guys are done. I'm like super
I'm hyped for it too. The live stream's gonna be lit. I'm excited. I am excited.
As you should be. We do lots of exciting things. I feel like we're just very exciting people, even though
we do. We
bite off more than we can chew sometimes, but not this week. This week we're in there.
Burning the saber at both ends, you know?
Yeah.
You know?
Double-bladed. Burning the saber at both ends. That's good, man.
Name of this episode?
Yeah, before we even get started. Fuck it. I am here with the Quinyon Mitchell to the Cooper Jean. That's right. We made a
Let's go.
draft reference.
Let's go.
We're the deadliest corners to come in the Star Wars podcast space.
There you go.
We're
the deadliest draft picks. We're the deadliest draft picks in the Star Wars industry.
You gotta love it. You love to see it. You're listening to And Are You Okay? Not a football podcast, but a Star Wars podcast. And
a Star Wars podcast.
I am joined with actually Matthew Porter, the main man from the Gray Hoodie Gang, Mace Windu, Broby One, Kenobi, and the Rogue One, Rogue Only. Matthew Porter, are you checked in? I knew
I'm checked in, brother. You know, fresh off my 9 to 5, about to hit hyperdrive. We about to go to work, brother. About to go to work.
To hear that we about to punch it. I am your other host, Mikey, the human holocron himself, Darth Plagueis the Wise.
Darth Plagueis the Wise.
And we're here again doing another truncated episode of And Are You Okay? Well, the only reason it is truncated this time around is because we are baffled at the fact that so little happened in the penultimate episode of Star Wars The Bad Batch. However, we will dive into it. For as beautiful as it looked, I think we were slightly underwhelmed. But we will get into all of that.
Slightly is not the word. You're such a nice lady.
Before we do so, I won't
say I was vastly disappointed. I wasn't like Sarlacc pit disappointed. It wasn't that deep. but it was disappointing. I was very underwhelmed.
It's all good. Underwhelmed. So I dropped the spoiler warning. We'll hyper dive right in a second, but with just one episode remaining, we're back to cover the 2 penultimate episodes of Star Wars The Bad Batch, episodes 313 Into the Breach and 314 Flash Strike, action-packed episodes that take the batch closer to the belly of the beast, pun intended, and episodes that continue to raise questions about the future of these characters in a way we had not imagined. We're going to talk about the biggest talking points from each episode, while I'm sure going off on a few tangents about the episode's highlights and some of its negatives, making us maybe a little more confused than we would like to be going into the series finale that we have upon us. But now that we are punching it and hyper diving into things, Matt, I just gotta hear takes on both episodes for sure, because I know that you're a little underwhelmed with the 314, but like, tell me how you felt about, because I think we were both rightfully hyped about Into the Breach.
That was 13 was fire. 13 was great. Let me answer your question with a question real quick. Are you getting based off of where the story seems to be heading from 13 or 14? Do you have concerns that our fan theories are about to be better than what we actually get with the finale?
Yes. We definitely hit a pocket of
Me
fire
too.
there. But yeah, it's all good. It's like it's inevitable almost, but there's a piece of me, and I guess I don't want to bury the lead, but this doesn't feel like the end for these characters in a way that I think that this is meant to tell a specific story, and we are going to have it catapult us into a new story, whether that centers around Omega or whether it centers around specific clones. And I have a couple theories about how that might not play out the way we're thinking, but I think we should talk about these episodes first and then get into kind of like where we see the finale going, because there is a piece of me where I think everything I've been hearing is that the episode is going to be like a normal length, but I don't know how you wrap up this show in 26 minutes.
Yeah. I hope that's not true. That would suck. I'd be very upset about that.
I was gonna say, Ray the Ruiner,
unless they maximize.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, Ray
unless
the
they
Ruiner,
maximize.
when we watched, was just like, how do you finish this? How do you finish this in just a short period of time and one episode left? And I would hope that they take it to close to an hour just to like maybe tie up some loose ends.
They better. They better make it close to an hour. Yeah, because it's like I'm rolling with what you're saying. Like, again, we'll break them down individually because I really did like 13, but like the way that 14 went off, like you said, Mike, it's like if Bad Batch is about to end, it seems like they're like teeing us up for like another show, like a follow-up show, which I kind of feel like all right, so I'd be happy that we'd be getting more of whatever's coming next, but I'd be like, y'all whole ad campaign was like this being the end. Like, so like, were you trying to like capitalize on like the emotional gut punch of like, oh, we're going to miss this show so much, so we better tune in because we're never going to see these people again. And then we about to get these people again. Like, I find it very similar to how they did the Book of Boba Fett, which I guess shouldn't surprise me that this might be what they do, because they did it with the Book of Boba Fett. Like, we got the ending of Mando, and we all felt that collective loss, that damn, we probably not gonna see Grogu for a long time or Din for a long time, and then the whole back half of Book of Boba Fett was just Mando season 2.5, and it was like, oh, okay. So it's just like I would feel like if they do a spinoff. Like, again, I'll be happy for the continued content, but I'll feel like it will immensely cheapen the Bad Batch as a whole. Like, the show ending, it'll feel like it'll feel cheap to me. It'll be like cheap heat. Like, I'm like, y'all whole ad campaign again was based off this being where again we've mentioned so many times, like, we're catching up to the part in the story where you have to start to explain why a lot of these heavy hitters weren't in the sequel trilogy. And they have yet to do that for anybody. So I'm like, what? Did they all collectively just go to fucking like a different place, bro? Like, I don't know. But 113, great episode. 113, I enjoyed it. I enjoyed it thoroughly. I will say, well, did you want to go like beat for beat through we said we were skipping the recap. We're just going to talk about it as a whole.
Yeah, we're just going to talk about it as a whole. I think it's enough that they had to go to Tantus, right? And that's what the episode is about. Yeah. They're not even in Tantus yet by the time we finish the second episode. So, yeah, we can talk about it all.
Lost in the woods.
Maybe go by character by character, because here's another part of it. For as weird as this sounds, the main members of the Bad Batch get the least amount of development throughout these two episodes. Hunter says negative, and that has like a huge impact on what's happening, and I felt that in my bones. And Crosshair says that he's changed, and that's about it. And Wrecker gets a big gash through his armor. So a lot of the players that we're seeing the most from, I think, in these last couple episodes have been Echo, Rampart, and Omega, which is fine, but it's just weird to feel like these might be some of the last moments we have with characters like Hunter, Wrecker, and Crosshair, and they might be like, gone next episode. So it just feels weird that like that's kind of how their last couple episodes have went. But that's also why I feel like maybe they have more story to tell with them that might be outside the Bad Batch.
Yeah, that's funny that you had mentioned like Hunter and Wrecker. I do enjoy the conversation that fuck, why'd I forget his name? It just literally Hemlock that him and Crosshair had when he was just like, "Oh, you're just like me. You worry about yourself." Just I've changed. I didn't like that line per se. I feel like he could have said something a lot more crosshairy like than I've changed. But I do like the concept. I will say, I don't think that they were trying to frame that in a Crosshair's going to betray the Batch type way. At least I didn't take it that way, but I can see how people would take it that way. And if that's not the intent, then that conversation is very pointless. Like I think the part. Sorry, not to cut you off, but I do think that conversation was more about. I think Rampart is going to see the selfless acts that the Batch does, and he might potentially change. Okay, I like that
because like he does look out for himself, and maybe when he realizes at some point, like throughout the finale episode, if he's not going to make it out alive, maybe he will make a sacrifice that is very uncharacteristic for someone, I would say, like him, you know, who doesn't even want to be there in the first place. For him to make a sacrifice like that after seeing kind of like the selflessness of the Bad Batch could be good growth and a good send-off for a character like that. Plus, Star Wars likes to kill people right after they get redeemed anyway.
Facts. It's kind of a motif for them. But yeah, all right, so I didn't look at it like that way, but I like that. Like if that's how they're gonna do it. If Hemlock just continues to Hemlock, that scene was very pointless. Like other than to like sow seeds of doubt, which I didn't get from that, but it's just like if it was just to highlight that Crosshair's a changed man, we've explored that through 3 different episodes now. Like we didn't need that extra. But
also, they're getting you with the Imperial guys. Hemlock is Jimmy Simpson. Rampart is the guy who is with the Batch in the woods right now.
Damn, you're right. My fault, bro.
No, you're good.
Because we spent a lot of last episode talking about Hemlock. You're right. Yeah, Rampart, Admiral Rampart. Yeah, my fault. Yeah, same guy.
All same fodder dude. For the Imperial engine, right?
Exactly. Yeah, Rampart. That conversation. I do like what you just said though about it, him possibly making the sacrifice play or doing something that is a selfless act. Funny that you talked about like Wrecker and Hunter. We kind of touched on this a bit that we said, you know, like season 1 was like Hunter's, season 2 was like very tagged, and season 3's Crosshair. Is it me or does Hunter seem extremely nerfed now? Like he like isn't like I don't.
Yeah, I don't feel this before. And I totally agree with you, except this episode was the one time where they almost contradicted your point, because Crosshair and Wrecker were having that conversation as if Hunter is nerfed, and they'll meet up at the same place, and then he stumbles upon them and he's like, "See, he found us," and it's like, yeah, of course he fucking found you. That's like what Hunter does. Like that's supposed to be his like superpower. That's his mutation. Like, why are you surprised that he found you? And why is Wrecker surprised that, or like thought that they might have trouble like meeting up with him? So it was definitely like out of character for them. Very forget what their brother's good at.
Very true. I mean, shit. Like I'm forgetting what he's good at, because it just seems like now, like for season 3, outside of that example, it just seems like he's good at combat, and they're all good at combat. Like that's just like it just seems like he's just excels at hand to hand. But we've seen Crosshair's probably been the one that has had the most one-on-one fights like this season. So it's like we didn't even know that he could really scrap like that, other than when him and Hunter had that fight in season 1, which Hunter kind of won. So it's just like, yeah, it just seems like, oh, he's just really a dirty fighter. Like I don't get like the sense of individualness from him anymore. And why do Wrecker keep getting knocked out? Like why does his big hulking ass, like why do he keep getting knocked out? Like I feel like he always gets tossed into some shit, and they have to like pay. Yeah, I feel like we hear the record like so much now, yo. Like, he's always knocked out.
Yeah.
Like when that
Golden
yo, I will say,
like
have we ever seen
trash?
Name of this episode? I know you're our monster expert. That tree bear thing. Have we ever seen one of those before? I really liked it
in the
like
season.
a lot.
It's what so when
in this season,
Crosshair and Omega are making their escape the first time, that's what the troopers are getting like beat up by, that allows them to be able to make their escape. So we didn't get like a close-up personal view on it, but that is the creature that is attacking them. And they were definitely using like bear
a lot.
sounds for it, so I would say it's very similar to probably like some sort of Star Wars version of a bear.
It's a tree bear.
Yeah, tree bear.
I like that a lot.
Not to be confused with
that thing was
beard.
cool. No, hey, that's why I named him that, as a Lord of the Rings reference. You know, we always gotta stick in some Rings of Power love when we can.
We find a way. We find a way.
Yeah, we always find a way. But yeah, Bad Batch. We've talked about this before too. They the implementation of like new beasts are always really awesome. Like it Bad Batch does again something that we've said a lot. Now that this is the end of it all, reflection's gonna come up a lot in these reviews. We've said in previous episodes that what Bad Batch thrives at, which is something that Star Wars as a whole is trash at, Bad Batch makes the galaxy feel big. Like with all these new creatures and alien types and cities and places where like with the Skywalker saga, like you're very honed in is Jakku, Tatooine, like Naboo, a little bit of Naboo, Coruscant tossed in there. But it's very it's in a vacuum chamber. The Skywalker saga is in a vacuum chamber, but Bad Batch with the introductions of all these cool animals, it actually makes it feel like a galaxy far, far away. So it's something that show does really, really, really well. But I liked everything about episode 13. I liked that Echo got his time to shine. I love that he put on the Stormtrooper outfit, and
that was I think he's the first person in canon from like a timeline perspective to do that. To be putting on a Stormtrooper like outfit to fit in, which I guess maybe technically you could say that like five.
I loved how he took the droid hand too.
Yeah, well, okay, so like there was this whole thing where I don't know if you've ever heard of Hot Toys, but they do like the really like in-depth like figures that like people display in their homes, and they did one for Echo 3 years ago when the show like came out, and he had like a droid hand, and everyone was like, "Oh, he's probably going to get that at some point," and he just never did until this episode, which I do love that he's finally got a hand back.
Yeah, because I liked how
say thanks for the hand.
1000%. Because I really enjoyed how he like put on the Stormtrooper outfit and was like, you know, blending in, so to speak, but he just had like this screwdriver hand that just like, and nobody like was like kind of like peeped. It was like, oh, yo, man's is missing a hand. Like nobody realized it, but like he was just like, I probably shouldn't test my luck walking around with this claw. Like, let me put this hand on it real quick. Like, right. I liked all of that.
He would have to hold the gun with his screwdriver bit like the whole time around and be like, all right, hope they don't see it. I just hopefully these guys are as dumb as they look. Like,
I mean, for a while they were like, my man's was like in the lineup and everything, and like nobody said shit. So, but it was really good. I also liked his interactions with Emery. I thought that was cool. That because I really enjoyed how she's like remorseful in regards to like letting Omega down, but it doesn't seem like she like feels bad for doing her job. Like she's kind of still in that, oh, I was just doing my job. But she's just like, I do care about Omega. She's disappointed in me. Like, oh, okay, let me make that right. Fuck all these other kids that I've helped prod and test like, and whatnot, what have you, or all these other clone brothers that I've like made subject to heinous experiments. But Omega, I let her down. Let me make it right by my girl at least. But I liked how they didn't go the route where she just kind of like snapped and turned into a good guy. Like, all right, yeah, we're good now. But she was just like, let me help you save Omega and the kids. Like everything else, like it is what it is. But I'll help you get her. I'll help you with her and the children. Like I'll help you there.
Right. And it's like it shows her change of heart. But you're right. It's only to a degree. Like I could still see her helping them, but staying behind. It's like it's all she knows, really. Right? Yeah. So like she, even though she doesn't view herself as imprisoned there, she is imprisoned by like the Imperial machine. It's fitting that the like logo for the Republic and the Empire is a cog, because she is very much a cog in the wheel of like the like actual machine that is like oppressing the galaxy, and she just can't see it, right? But she's having this change of heart, like in like from like personal stakes standpoint, and she'll eventually push through, I think, to help the kids. But I wouldn't be surprised if it ends up fucking over Echo's mission to save the other clones. I do have a theory about how, quote unquote, the cavalry may arrive, because I know that's the last episode or title of the episode. So we will have to kind of like dive into that a little bit, but I think that like there's ways here that they can certainly push the story.
Make not win, bro. Agents and S.H.I.E.L.D. they're gonna show up.
Yeah, right? I think there's a way that they can push the story. So it's funny that you mentioned that, because it will play into a lot of our outside actors that aren't on Tantus right now that would definitely be part of, quote unquote, the cavalry. I guess I'll just fucking go into it. So when they're on the station...
Do we get Quinlan Voss? Does Quinlan Voss show up with Bay? Does he show up to help her out?
We will certainly see, but I think when they're on the base trying to get the coordinates to Tantus, and they leave Wrecker behind, Wrecker is on the ship playing with a data pad, which he's never done, ever, in the show. And it could be totally a throwaway. This is very, like, weird, but, like, what if he, like, called all of their friends, like the Twi'leks from Ryloth, the Rex and his like crew of clones, Fennec Shand, maybe Asajj is in there somewhere, like the kid that was voiced by Yuri Lowenthal on that one like planet with all the like street rat kids, and then also like,
the thief, the pickpocket kid.
Yeah. And then what about like the clone cadets? Maybe Sid is still out there, and this is a chance for Sid to like come in and redeem herself.
Man, fuck Sid, bro. She got dogs.
But like, what if all of those people come to show up, and that's the cavalry? Like that's what I'm thinking. Like, because at this point in time, I'm like, I don't think it's Hunter, Wrecker, and Crosshair getting that message out to them while they're at Tantus. Maybe the message was already sent out to them, and when Echo thinks he calls in like Rex's crew of people, he's actually getting this like whole army coming that's like bigger than they expected, with everyone that the Bad Batch has kind of like helped along the way.
So let me ask you a question. Would you be disappointed if the cavalry, because I'm kind of going based off of like all the really cool big things that we were like fan casting, like with like kind of seeds that they were planting versus like setting proper expectations for what might actually end up happening. Would you be disappointed if the cavalry is like the liberated clones that were getting experimented on? If they break all them out and like get them weapons and that's the cavalry?
I think that would be a really fitting like moment for those clones, because we haven't spent much time with them, but to know that like their brothers,
we don't even know how many of them there are.
we don't but to know that like their other brothers are there like breaking them out. Maybe we'll see some commandos like realize that they're like, we've been controlled, like these are our brothers. Maybe some of the commandos will turn you know, they'll realize that like what they're doing is wrong. I think that would be certainly fitting and within the realm of reason. I think what I just said is very much like Avengers Endgame type moment that I feel like every franchise
Disney's going to Disney.
Yeah. so and like as much as I would enjoy it, they didn't leave enough like plot clues for me to feel like, oh, that's definitely what Wrecker was doing. It just something felt off, and when I was rewatching it, I was like, I wonder like what he's doing on that. Like he was left behind like for a reason there. So maybe it'll probably be nothing, but maybe it'll pan out to be something incredible. Because I just feel like there's the creators of the show have been talking of the finale to be this very big emotional ride. And who knows, maybe the emotion they're talking about is joy. Maybe it's just a lot of fun, like as we watch everyone kind of like get freed and we move on to this new thing. There is an aspect of, and I know that you feel this way, like why would we end the show just to kind of like end it and not like explain things? But after the writer's strike, they changed how like writers' rooms are supposed to be structured, and I'm wondering if that impacted the show continuing on the way it has, and that to do it right, they're like essentially put in a position where they have to make a new show. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Like I get what you're saying. And funny you say that, because granted, I don't have cable television anymore. I got streamers, and you know, because I'm a bougie bitch, I pay for ad free, so I don't really see commercials like that. But I do feel, and let me know if you've seen it or you might see something to contradict what I'm saying, and which is totally fine. I feel like they've kind of pulled back the final season like promo of it. Like I remember like when the sizzle reel was coming out, and like before the season started, they were driving it home like the final season. This is the final season. Star Wars Day last year when they announced it, like final season. And I do feel like as the season has been going on, they've kind of like dropped that tagline, or I don't see that as much. And like you were saying, like with these past 2 episodes, it doesn't feel like finality, because like we still don't know who Clone X is, and you say that we about to like get a resolution of that, get a resolution for Tantus, get a resolution for Omega, get a resolution or answers to like where Clone Force 99 is about to end up or where they're not gonna end up. We about to get all of that in 24 minutes.
Like, I think,
and they're still not even at the base yet. Like they're still in the woods, and fucking not Hemlock has been captured. Like he's still like, and then and now we know to jump ahead, not ahead, but to go in line with episode 14. There's that giant fucking thing that Omega saw in that pool, the Loch Ness monster. So I'm pretty sure that's gonna play a factor into this. So it's just like,
100%.
there's a lot of shit that has to happen. Cause like, all right, so let's look at things that we know for a fact are gonna happen, and some things that that should happen. So we know for a fact that the Batch and Omega are going to be reunited somehow. We know for a fact that that's going to happen. One would assume that some type of jailbreak for the clones that are being experimented on is going to happen.
Of course,
the Zillo Beast is going to come into play somehow. We know that that's going to happen.
The Zillo Beast could be the thing that starts the chain reaction where all of these things that we're mentioning like come out of. Does that make sense? Like the Zillo Beast getting released could do,
like for sure.
You just said, like the Batch being reunited, the clone outbreak, or the jailbreak, like that could all be made possible due to the Zillo Beast wreaking havoc on Mount Tantus. And we know for a fact these things are
so another thing, right? Another thing that we know for a fact is going to happen. Rampart has been captured by the Empire, so we know that he's if he's gonna have something to do with something in the final episode, because he's now gonna be heading towards the base. The Batch still has to get to the base, so that's another thing that has to happen. Another thing that we know for a fact, those kids are probably going home. Like, so that has to happen. They're not gonna kill those children. Like, they're not going to kill those children. Those kids aren't about to become orphans. Like, those kids are going to get rescued.
I will be shocked. I will be shocked.
That's what I'm saying. I'm saying. Those kids are highly like, all right, nothing's impossible, but it's 99.9% sure that those kids are going to get rescued somehow.
It's 99% sure.
You know what I'm saying? So that's like 6 or I lost count. That's like, so in the name of the episode, the cavalry arrives. So we know that there's going to be some type of group gathering fight against Tantus. So that's like 8 things that we know for a fact are going to happen. Some things that one would assume would happen is, again, Clone X would have some type of involvement. Matter of fact, that whole shadow clone little fucking syndicate hasn't showed up in the past.
They should.
Yeah, right.
Members of them there. Yeah.
Exactly. So one would assume that they have something to do with something. We still have no resolution or backstory to Crosshair's tremors. Are we just supposed to chalk that up to just the experiments? Like, that's just what we're supposed to do with that? Like, nothing else comes from that. One would assume that Rex, because Rex is on board with the clone liberation plan. So one would assume that he's gonna be, if not necessarily at Tantus, maybe he's like helping them escape when they get out into space, because I'm assuming niggas is going to chase them, like, unless they like blow up the base, whatever it is. But I would assume Rex and his team are going to be involved somehow. Like you said, Wrecker was left behind with the data pad. Who knows what he's doing? Fennec Shan, was that the last we've seen of her? Like, Asajj, was that her only? Hey, fuck it. Omega being force sensitive like that. I'm pretty sure that would, even though I don't want it to, pretty sure y'all gonna devote a whole episode to her being force sensitive and that not come up again in the final episode. That's 10 things right there that you have to like address at a minimum, not necessarily resolve, but at a minimum needs to be addressed in the final episode. And you telling me that you're only about to make this thing 24 minutes? Not possible.
Yeah, you're right. I think that like we should be looking at, like, because the season premiere was a 70-minute episode. I would like for it to be a 70-minute finale, if I'm being selfish and honest. But at the same time, like, I don't know. I guess I really don't know what the plan is. I would hope it's an extended episode, or if there is like more story to be told and they're doing a sequel show that's focusing on one of the characters, probably Omega, right? There should be some sort of epilogue, kind of like Rebels did. So yeah, it should definitely be longer. And I hope that it is, but you're right. Like, there's so many things that like have to happen, and some of them can happen concurrently, and like it might not be as long as maybe like we need it to be. But yeah, I do agree with you. Like, there's so many things that are like, if it doesn't happen, then it will feel very...
What was the point?
I don't want. Yeah, like I'll just say I will feel unfulfilled as a fan of the show, because it felt like they were building up to all of these things. I will say this, injecting some real world stuff into it. Your mention of the fact that they haven't been playing up like the final season and stuff like that. They have almost taken its entire marketing out of the picture and have been pushing Tales of the Empire and the Acolyte, because it's around the corner, which I'm sure will be bigger hits for Disney, so maybe that's a business decision. But I also think that ending a show is not as like reaction heavy online as much as it is ending a show and announcing a second show at the same time, which is why I feel like they've toned down the like Bad Batch is ending thing, because they're probably going to be like, oh hey, Bad Batch is ending, but there's a new show getting announced. Like, the next step is for Star Wars animation of like what's to come afterwards, which it could definitely feel like it takes away from the Bad Batch. I'm not going to discredit that. Anyone who's like a big Bad Batch fan, maybe you got really attached to these characters, if you feel like they just use this story to catapult another character's story, yeah, I could definitely see how that would be frustrating and upsetting. But if the next show is like a Clone Rebellion story, and it carries a few of the members of the Bad Batch, they're just part of a larger ensemble cast at that point, I think that there could be something there where maybe that's why they're shying away from some of the things that we're talking about. So Do you feel like that's possible? It feels unlikely, but it just does, like, it's weird how they're handling it.
If not for one piece of information that I'm going to share with you in a second, I would totally agree with you. The one thing that makes me have some skepticism towards that is that we've literally seen them promote the ending of a show based off the fact that it was done. They did it with Clone Wars. Like, that was literally marketed as the final season. When you go on Disney Plus, that's what it says. It still says the final season. It still says the final season, and that was Filoni. So it's just like, and that was literally marketed based off of, hey, you ain't getting no more of this. And that was a big thing. Like, I know a lot of people who got emotional off of that. Like, that last episode, I got emotional off of that. Like, bro, like, knowing that was that. So, like, having this prolonged history with Clone Force 99 and how heavy they were with this being the final story for these guys at the beginning before the show started. And like you just said, now it's just gone. Like, it's not, it's like no mention about this being the finale. Like, there's no, or even the fact that if let's say this is the end of an era, let's say that this is the series finale, the last episode is in 3 days, not to timestamp ourselves, but the last episode is in 3 days, and they haven't treated it like it's in 3 days. Like,
the last thing I saw, or the most latest thing, was at 99 hours till the episode dropped. They put something up that said 99 hours left, which is like nice, but that, like, you're right.
Yeah, then
like,
that's cute. It's cute,
it's like,
but
you should be pumping out like, hey, final episode.
Yeah, like if this is it, like, and again, because like you did it for Clone Wars, like that was a whole thing. That was like a whole marketing campaign that this is the final episode. This is the rebirth. This is the rebirth and the death of Clone Wars all at the same time. And this is it. We're ending it. It's our bookend. It's a love letter to the fans. We're finishing it. And it's just like for people who like me and you who are like super emotionally invested in the Clone Force 99, for them to have opened up with like, hey, this is it, and us like getting on this emotional roller coaster, like prepping to not be able to see these guys semi-regularly anymore, they've totally gotten away from that. And if that is because they're gonna continue it, again, I'm not mad at more content revolving around Clone Force 99. Not upset at that at all. I'm just like, if there was a pivot, why not just say that? Like why make it ambiguous? Why leave it up in the air? Because it's like you said, like, I feel like I don't know what the word is that I feel confused, I guess, would be, because it's like, should I be preparing for this to actually be the last episode? Should I be emotionally prepping myself to say goodbye to these characters? Or based off how you're treating it, this don't feel like the end. So should I just treat this like the end of a season?
What if at the end the Bad Batch logo, like this, like maybe like let's say they do throw it on some type of like cliffhanger type energy, right? Mm-hmm. And as the screen fades to black, and
the Bad Batch will return.
well, what if like the Bad Batch logo appears and then it burns away to whatever the next show is? To
a new one? Yeah, I'll be here for that.
Just like it did because remember, like, the show did technically start as like the Clone Wars, and then like
as a Clone Wars episode. Yeah,
and then it was the Bad Batch. So I wonder if maybe they'll do something like that if it's meant to continue. I guess, you know, there's a part of me that's definitely trying to prepare myself. I am not comfortable. I think that the more, it's weird because at the beginning of the season I was like, I don't think Echo's making it out alive. Now I'm like, I think Echo might be the only one who makes it out. Outside of Omega.
I don't know, bro. The way that they treating this shit, like, I'm feeling like everybody's about to make it out this bitch. like I don't like. And so the point that I said that I wanted to bring up to you, before we had hit record, is I feel like Game of Thrones fucked up storytelling, because anyone who's a fan of Game of Thrones knows that the penultimate episode of Game of Thrones is usually where shit hits the fan. That's usually the wildest of the Red Wedding, where the Night King blew up the wall, like all that shit. That might have been the season finale. But the Red Wedding was definitely the penultimate episode. Ned Stark getting his head lopped off, I'm pretty sure was the penultimate episode of that season. Game of Thrones kind of got away from how a story is typically told. Because like me and Ray the Ruiner always say, like a TV show's going TV, a plot's always going plot. And typically before the climax or the ending of something, they usually like bring you down so that they can take you back up, like to end with the climax. They typically give you like a lull to then shoot you back up. So like TV making, episode 14 did what typically a penultimate episode is supposed to do. It's supposed to not be high energy, so that way that finale fucks you up. But Game of Thrones totally turning that on its head and making like the craziest episode be the one before the finale. I feel like a lot of people have kind of gotten used to, because that was 10 years of our lives. Like that, that's what we got. Like we all knew, like, oh shit, the pre-season finales where shit goes crazy, and we like started to expect that. So it was like, coming out of the end of 14, I was like, that was it. Like I was just like, where's the rest of the episode? Like you just said, like that 1000% could have just been the back end of 113, like of 13. So yeah, 313, yeah. So like I said, I don't know how much of it is like Game of Thrones just like totally changing how like the flow of a story goes against like how stories are typically told, where like the penultimate is like the lull before the calm before the storm. But it's just like, again, going back to these are the last three, how y'all have spun it is these would be the last 3 episodes that we're getting from this show ever. How y'all have spun it, what y'all told us the fans, that this is it, and these were the last 3 episodes. And like you said, 313 gave us nothing by way of the batch. Like you said, Crosshair says, I've changed. Hunter says negative. Wrecker gets knocked out again. Not Hemlock gets kidnapped. So, so it's just like I don't like I don't want to use the word underwhelmed, because again, I liked 313. I liked that episode a lot. And even though 14 was disappointing to me, expecting more from a show that's ending on Wednesday, I did enjoy the when Omega was going to try to find a way out for everybody, and the doctor was coming to test the kids, and they were trying to stall her and everything. I really liked that part. I don't remember if it was 13 or 14, but I my favorite line of those 2 episodes was when Omega was talking to the kids, and Omega was just like, that's laser fire. And then she's like, what's going on? She was like, they found me. And the kids was like, who? She was like, my brothers.
Yeah, this shit was hard.
I love their part. That was I was like, let's fucking go.
That was
I love their part a lot.
The highlight of 314 was Rampart yelling, like as they had to like kick him out of the ship and then fall to the ground, and then like the beast coming after him. Like that man was working in the booth. his screams were all over that episode. But yeah, there's a lot of like covert espionage. Also, 313 had probably the most cinematic shots of any Star Wars show I've ever seen in my life. Like when they cut to there's one that's like a direct rip from like a Ralph McQuarrie painting, where it's like it was a concept art for like the Death Star being built, but they ended up turning them into like the orbital stations that live above the planets. So that's what they have to like infiltrate in 313, and like there's one shot that looks almost exactly like the frame of his concept art. And then the other one that I love is that when you see Tantus from above and the birds are flying over it. Yeah. And then that was a good one. Hard cut directly into the like room that the children are in, and then I think it hard cuts again to Omega lying out the game pieces, showing you like the circle to the circle to the circle, like one layer deeper, and the foreshadowing of like the birds flying above Tantus, like people like making it out, to me was absolutely beautiful. Cutting from nature to this cold like laboratory type setting to pieces of a game, also very like it's hitting all of these themes. Like they did a masterful job in 313 of building suspense, and I think that's maybe why we're feeling underwhelmed by 314, because 314 was just the tram car. It was like you boarded a train. You're not actively driving the car. You're just there. You're along for the ride, but not much like happened. We saw the Zillow Beast. That was the most important thing that happened in 314.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. Like let's just call it what it is. And that's why I feel like it was one big episode that they maybe cut into 3. And yeah, Omega delivered an extremely hard line of my brothers.
My brothers. Brothers.
And it's weird to feel, because I feel like I'm usually pretty hyper positive about it, and I still do think, I will say this, the score for these past 2 episodes has felt, the Kiner siblings and Kevin Kiner have taken it to a level where the Star Wars music is really hitting me in the feels in ways that it always has, but for some reason these animated shows, they just cut deeper. And then the end credits for 314 mixed in some of the clone theme from the Clone Wars, making me feel like that was almost a tease for what's to come in the next episode. And I when I rewatched them today before we recorded, my entire body was covered in goosebumps. Like, I'm not kidding. Like, I was like, oh, this shit's getting real. So I'm very excited. I'm glad we got to talk about that shot. Are there any action beats that you want to... I really loved Echo jumping over the one canister and like hiding behind it to go up like the droid chute. But outside...
Oh, yeah. That was...
Yeah.
I would probably say it wasn't very long, and there have been a lot more action-packed dog fights in Star Wars, but I really liked the chase, like a lot. Like with them trying to get away from the Tantus fighters and everything. I don't know why. Like I said, it wasn't very long, but them putting the ship on autopilot and dangling from the harnesses and everything. And then I'm paraphrasing because I'm terrible at quoting lines directly if I haven't watched the episode immediately. But when not Hemlock, Admiral Rampart, not Hemlock, when he was just like, yo, this is a terrible idea. He was like, how's this gonna work? And Wrecker was just like, try not to run into anything, or something along those lines. He was like, yeah, he's like, how is this supposed to work? And he was like, try not to run into anything. Yeah. And I just thought that was hilarious. But that was really cool. Cause you know what it was? Cause I will say, is rare that a show dupes me, but when not Hemlock's, when his rappel got stuck, I was like, oh, he's dead. I was like, that's it for him, because they were like firing on the ship at that part. I thought Hunter was just gonna have to cut bait and just be like, I thought that him dying was then gonna be like, fuck, now how are we gonna get in? I thought that was about to be the episode. Like, oh shit, we just lost Admiral Akbar. Like, now we gotta figure out. I'm making a point to call him everything but his name.
Yeah.
So, I thought when his harness got stuck and they were like firing on the ship, and Hunter like kind of had that moment where I looked up and he's like, shit. I thought he was just gonna have to just like, well, them's the breaks.
I guess we do have to call out the
like
other great line from the episode where it's like, where's Rampart, and did he survive? And Hunter just goes, unfortunately.
Yeah, that was a good one.
And I also think
that shit was very suspenseful, very suspenseful. That fight was.
Do you think that the dogfight maybe had like a different weight to it because we don't typically see our heroes get shot down like that?
That might have been it, because it felt different. That could be exactly what it was. Yeah, that could be exactly what. Because it's like, at no point did I expect the batch to die. Like, I knew that they were going to be fine, but like I said, when Akbar, when his rappel got stuck, I was like, oh shit, he's about to die, and they're gonna have to figure out the hard way to get into Tantus. It's like, okay, a little bit of adversary for our protagonist. No friends become enemies, enemies become friends. But when he saved them, I was like, that was cool. But yeah, that could be exactly what it was, because like I said, it wasn't very long. There have been crazier dogfights in Star Wars, but that could have been exactly it, what you just said, because it felt different to me that we don't usually ever see the good guys get shot down. Like, we see ship damages and R4 lost his head, because the buzz droids and everything. But typically they either make a really bad landing and be all right. But like this one, like they were getting peppered with cannon fire, and they was just like, all right, yeah, we got to get out of here. This 100%. Ain't it. Because for when it first started, you're kind of tricked into this false sense of security. Like, oh, they get chased in space all the time. They're going to figure out a way to destroy these fighters and then land and come up stealthily and whatnot, what have you. But no, they got shot down. It's like, oh shit, okay, like, never mind. And it was like, because the way that I saw it playing in my head was like we were going to get a typical Star Wars amazing dogfight. They were going to beat the Tantus fighters, but like obviously have to make like a landing, preferably closer to Tantus, and then go through the trudge. But yeah, them getting shot down and then getting hunted through the forest, I was like, okay, cool. That was a pleasant change. I was happy at how that went, but I liked it a lot. I enjoyed it.
It was
try not to run into anything.
I enjoyed myself. I hadn't thought that far ahead, but of course. Had to get in there. Also, while we're at it, shout out to Jeremy.
Always.
I know he's listening.
By 1 second. By 1 second. Shout out to Jeremy and Mrs. Jeremy and baby Jeremy.
Yeah, the whole
all
family.
the Jeremys. All the Jeremys. We love them.
Matthew, I know you have a big thing coming up here, and there's not
shortly.
much to talk about. Yeah, so we're gonna close this one out, but while we do it, I might as well plug it, because I think by this point it will maybe live on Caustic Phoenix's channel. But the DB4L,
I would imagine,
is doing this awesome Dungeons and Dragons campaign with her. For Matt, can you fill in the blank here for me? What is the actual
D20 Deathmatch?
D20 Deathmatch.
We are doing a Dungeons and Dragons playthrough. So by the time y'all hear this, it won't be live anymore. But just to say it, we're doing a live Twitch stream on Caustic Phoenix's Twitch, D20 Deathmatch. We'll post links in the description of this video. We'll post the link for sure. Yeah. But like Mikey just said, we're pretty sure that it will live on her page. But it's also session 1. I think we're breaking this up. It's either 2 parts or 3 parts. But we're going to do a 2-hour session today, and then I believe another 2-hour session next week, just to wrap up our story. I don't remember if we said we were going to do it in 3, but I think we're doing it in 2. But it's going to be myself.
I was going to say, go ahead.
I was just going to say here, it's going to be myself, Troto Trav, and our other producer, Dragon Paul GT, going on a mythical adventure. Friends become enemies, enemies become friends, but we're all richer for the journey.
I have spoken to the Dragon Ball GT producer, Paul, and
Dragon Paul GT.
Yeah. And I believe these episodes will also live on our sister podcast, Dragon Ball for Life. At some point, we are going to be editing them ourselves, but definitely go check out Phoenix's channel. She's incredible at what she does. There's also a great Dragon Call we did with her about Dungeons and Dragons and how she DMs. So it's a 2-part interview that you can check out.
That's how we got here. Yeah, that episode is how we got here.
So have to obviously champion my teammates that I work with over on our other podcast. But thank you so much for tuning in. You can follow them at DB4L_pod on Instagram and Twitter. You can follow us at the letters ANI RUOK pod on Instagram and Twitter. But for now, Matt, I'll let you close out this bad boy and tell the Animaniacs what's good.
I gotcha. Well, Animaniacs, it could be Rampart, it could be Hemlock, it could be not Hemlock, it could be Admiral Akbar, or it can be Ray. Because life can be a beach, but as long as there's no sand, you guessed it, Annie gonna be okay.
Be okay. May the force be with you.
And with you. Later, nerds.
Deuces.